Thank you, Tom. Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Our service today is titled Caring for the Chrysanthemum, Finding Home in Our Friendship. Good morning! Good morning! So lovely to see all of you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rhea Brown-Bright. My pronouns are they and them, and I am your Director of Lifespan Religious Education. Thank you for being here on this beautiful, sunny Mother's Day morning. While today's service is not about that, know you are held both in the joys and the sorrows that come up on this day. Now, a big thank you to everyone who came to Thoughtful Thursday's lecture with local historian James Bennett on Why is Melrose So White? We had 50 folks in attendance, and it was such a delight to hear both the lecture and the conversation that came from it. Our next Thoughtful Thursday is June 12th with the Massachusetts Transpolitical Coalition leading a workshop for us. Our church is a vibrant, caring community dedicated to love and service. If you're joining us for the first time, we have a greeter here to answer any questions today. That's Wendy. Wendy, can you give people a wave? Thank you. She's also wearing a yellow stole to help make her a little bit more identifiable. And also thank you to today's ushers, Nancy, and to our coffee hosts, Catherine and Mary Ellen. You make church possible. Just a few quick announcements today. Next week is our special RE Sunday when we will be bridging 5 seniors. We're super excited about it. May 13th, come support Reverend Suzanne and other climate activists who were arrested for protesting the proposed expansion on private jet traffic on Hansom at their trial at Concord District Court from 9 to 11 a.m. There's more info in the midweek update. Fellowship on May 17 has an ice cream social and board game night. That sounds like a lot of fun. Bring 1 or 2 board games to share and come enjoy some ice cream. We are also entering the cycle of new ministry teams. If you have an idea and a group of folks you want to do it with, about 4, proposals are due by May 25th. Find more information in your midweek update. Now, this is an ask from me. Do you have any summer service or summer activity ideas? Would you like to be a volunteer who unlocks the church in the summer? Let me know and keep an eye out for a sign-up genius in next week's midweek update. And finally, one other ask from me. Are you looking for something to do the week of August 18th to 22nd? I think you are. Come serve at our shared program with First Parish Malden CUSP, Chalice Unitarian Universalist Summer Program. We need everything from errand runners to lunch monitors to co-teachers and more. Let me know if you have any questions and find more info, like the volunteer sign up in the midweek update. And we have one more announcement from Board Clerk Gretchen Locke.
Good morning. So this is my annual announcement of our upcoming annual meeting. The 2025 annual meeting of the Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church will be held on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, at 7 p.m. in the sanctuary and on Zoom. The purpose of the meeting is to receive reports from officers and committees, to elect officers, directors at large, chairpersons of committees, and a nominating trustees and a nominating committee to adopt a budget and to transact such other business as may legally and properly come before it. All are welcome to attend. Please note only voting members of the church may vote at the annual meeting. If you have any questions about your eligibility for voting, please see Nancy Nichols, our registrar, and she can help you with that. Thank you very much, and we'll see you there.
Thank you, Gretchen. Our guest preacher today is Louise Smith-Erb. And before I give their bio, I'm going to give mine. Louise is one of my dear friends, former housemates, collaborator and colleague in silly, joyful ministry, and fellow graduate of Boston University School of Theology, and the maker of many weird meals I've eaten. They are also, here's the more official, a chaplain and summer camp aficionado. They swim between the Unitarian Universalists and United Church of Christ waters. with a particular passion for justice-oriented spiritual care and joyful worship. Louise spends their time playing board games, Wingspan is a favorite, enjoying the company of the queer community near and far, and is trying to put their phone down a little bit more. Thank you so much for being here this morning, Louise. It is such a joy. Now, to access our electronic order service, you can hold up your phone now and get the link through this QR code. You can also access the link through the worship reminder now in your email box or on the website's homepage. If you click on the More button in the worship box, it takes you to a page with the order service, or you can just be guided throughout because everything will be up on the screen. Now, let's have a good look at our beloved community. Turn to say hi to all our church friends and far and near and say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So we're doing a call to worship together, and I'll say a line, and then I will invite you to join with this line. We worship today in a broken and beautiful world. Together, we will help each other to love a little deeper. We worship today as a people who are holding grief and joy, big questions and hard answers. Together, we will help each other to love a little deeper. We worship today as a people trying to make sense of our lives. Together, we will help each other to love a little deeper. We worship today to celebrate the gifts of our relationships and our faith. Together, we will help each other to live a little deeper. May our shared time be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to our greater communities. Together, we will help each other to love a little deeper. And now, we light the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice, and I would like to invite up Nyla.
Good morning. Today we will share an affirmation written by the UU minister J.E. Abernathy. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join me as you feel comfortable. The words will appear on the screen. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life.
And please remain standing for our opening hymn. It's We Would Be One, 318 in the gray hymnal, and words will appear on the screen. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And next we have our story. This is Toot and Puddle by Holly Hoppy. Toot and Puddle lived together in woodcock pockets. We have Toot and Puddle, they're shoveling in their nice little neighborhood. It was such a perfect place to be that Puddle never wanted to go anywhere else. Toot, on the other hand, loved to take trips. He had been to Cape Cod, the Grand Canyon, and the redwood forests. But one day in January, Toot decided to set off on his biggest trip ever. He decided to see even more of the world. "Do you want to come along?" he asked Puddle. "We could start someplace warm and wild." But Puddle preferred to stay home. "I love snow," he thought. And so, meanwhile, we have Toots with some hippos. He is writing a postcard. He's made many friends, having a good time. And still, we have Puddle is in woodcock pockets, skating and dancing, presenting Puddle at Pocket Pond. And then next, we have Toot writing a postcard that Egypt is awesome, the pyramids are the greatest, wish you could be here. And still, for Puddle, March meant maple syrup. Puddle wished Toot were there to taste the pancakes. And then next, we have Toot writing a postcard to Puddle. "Can you believe I'm in the Solomon Islands? They're in the Pacific Ocean. I spend all day underwater. I love being in a school of fish." Meanwhile, for Puddle, spring had arrived and Puddle was enjoying mud season. That looks pretty fun. And all the while, Toot was still exploring. "Hi, Puds, I'm in India. It's your birthday, May 3rd. I hope your party is the best." And then we have next, Puddle is celebrating his birthday by singing, "For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow that nobody can deny," with all his friends on his birthday. Meanwhile, we have Toot in the Alps. "Help! The mountain climbing is scarier than jumping out of a plane. Remember when I told you I was going parachuting?" Meanwhile, Puddle remembered. Next, we have Toot is writing from Spain. You've just seen a bullfight. And all the while, it is July, presenting Puddle at Pocket Pond. Every time he jumped in, he cheered, "Olé." And then we have Toot is in Antarctica. He's made some friends, and he's wondering, "Are you going to the beach this year? I miss you. Do you miss me?" And indeed, yes, Puddle missed his friends. But meanwhile, Toot is writing, "Dear Pudsey, bonjour from Paris. Art is everywhere. Love is in the air." And then we have Puddle. "I love art," thought Puddle. And we have Toot writing, "Italy is heaven. It's one big treat," in a delightful shop. And meanwhile, it was Halloween in woodcock pockets, and Puddle decided to be horrifying. But then, one morning in November, Toot woke up and thought, "It's time to go home." Yay! Toot is coming! Puddle is getting all ready. December called for celebration. "Here's to all your adventures around the world," said Puddle. "And here's to all your adventures right at home," said Toots. "And here's to being together again," Toot and Puddle said at the same time. Toot was happy to be back in his own bed, and Puddle was happy too. "I wonder if it will snow all night," Puddle said. "I hope so," said Toots. "Then we'll go sliding," said Puddle. "And skiing," said Toots. "Good night, Toots. Good night, Puddle." And so ends our story of Toot and Puddle.
Thank y'all for your good listening. Now it is time to go to religious education class where Mary Beth and Liz, yes, the president and vice president of our board, will be leading RE today. Every Sunday, we take time for quiet meditation and prayer, time to reconnect with our highest ideals and with one another. Let's begin that time by feeling into our bodies. Let's feel our feet resting on our floor, our bodies relaxing in our seats. Take a breath, if you will. In this time of meditation and prayer, we'll first join in our centering song, and we'll sit for a time of shared quiet. Then we will share our joys and sorrows, and Luis will lead us in prayer. Our worship theme for May is interdependence, and our centering song for this month is Wake Now My Senses, verses 1 and 4 in the Great Hymnal. Please remain seated and join in this song as you like. Let it guide you gently into our time of shared meditation. It is our tradition in worship to share with one another the milestones of our lives, our personal joys and sorrow. We speak and listen with care, so that our sharing knits us together in love, strength, and community. If you have a sorrow to share, please come forward and speak at the mic so everyone can hear and see you. Folks on Zoom can type in the chat box, and I will read them aloud. Which help us connect and remind us of all the beauty of living. And now we light one more candle to shine our thanks for all the many blessings in our lives.
Beloved community, we are together in deep joy and deep sorrow, in grief and sadness, holding those we love who are ill, holding the hurts of a broken world, many of us wishing there were more answers than there are. And we hold the joy of good travels, the joy of welcoming new friends, the joy of being together in community today. Friends, we hold so much together, and may we continue to hold it all together so well. May we be with each other. May we trust that it is okay to say, I don't have the answers, I need help. May there be people who are there for us. And may there always be people to celebrate the beauty of our lives. May it be so. Amen.
Our church is self-funded, supported by your generous annual pledge. You may also give to our weekly collection, which we split every month with a worthy group via our Giving Beyond Our Walls program. Remote folks can donate by using the donation button on our homepage at melroseuu.org. For the month of May, half of our collection plate will go to the Immigrant Support Alliance, a Melrose-based network of volunteers that welcomes and assists newly arrived individuals and families as they gain footholds in our communities. Our anthem today is called We Are One by Brian Tate.
When we rise.
We have two readings today. One is a haiku from the poet Kizan just before his death, and it is featured in Japanese Death Poetry, a volume edited by Yoel Hoffman. When I am gone, who will care for the chrysanthemums that I leave? And our second reading today is called Individualism is Destructive. And it is a bit of a poetry prayer mashup by the Reverend M.J. Kaiser. Individualism is destructive. Send greed and selfishness away. That learned refusal to acknowledge your own need for help, let it be gone as well. When possible, counter all impulses towards privatized survival with acts of love, collective and expansive, with caring for others and accepting care. Remember, we need each other. Remember the needs of your neighbors, literal and metaphorical. Remember the vulnerable. Remember, we are in this together even when we don't act like it. People depend on your choices. You depend on the choices of others. This, a sacred and terrible truth woven into our flesh. So let this time be an opening to all the sources of connection we have lost in this era of pushing down, pushing through, pushing away, and pushing the pace. Let all that is soft, all that is slow, all that is gentle, all that is kind, all that is careful, be welcome home in each of us. We have such creative, powerful, generous, and brave capacities within us. We can choose to do things differently. So again, good morning, beloved community. It is a joy and an honor to be able to worship together today. So as part of my sermon practice, I always like to do a big breath before a sermon. I invite you to join me to perhaps have a mid-worship wiggle break. If you'd like to take a big breath in and let it out. Maybe shake your hands, wiggle your shoulders. And as Reverend Jade said in one of our readings, let this time be an opening to all the sources of connection we have lost. So when I was interviewing for a spot in a housing residence that focused on cooperative living a few years ago, I was asked a bit of a puzzling question. They said to me, I forget, have you lived in community before? And I paused. The person asking this question meant, had I lived in an environment adjacent to their particular brand of communal living? A co-op or co-housing, intentional community, something like that. By the standards that I sensed were present for this interview, I had not lived in community, at least not exactly. I hadn't had weekly housemate meetings, or bought groceries with a group, or gotten really into consensus-based decision-making, or been part of some really elaborate chore chart endeavor, or any of those stereotypical co-op sort of things. But it was an odd question, because of course I had lived in community. Maybe not this particular brand or type of community, and surely there was something special about what they were doing. But I had definitely lived in community. How could I not have? Because I was a being and I was alive. I could not have gotten to that interview if I had not been nurtured by people who had been nurtured by people since the dawn of humankind. And so perhaps you have heard the hubbub about the loneliness epidemic, or an analysis of the rampant culture of individualism. And these are indeed frightening cultural phenomena, and they deserve some really serious reflection and action. I do not mean to dismiss loneliness as an awful challenge for many of our beloveds. I know I have been there. I have felt lonely. And nor do I mean to dismiss the intense harm caused by that image of the rugged individual. It is created predominantly by white American culture, and if we're being even more specific, white American culture with proximity to money has indeed been on a mission to spread this myth that somehow someone can be completely independent, on the move to make their own brand and not in need of anyone else. In fact, though, no one is self-made. No one can survive on their own. Every being, for all of time, has lived in community of some sorts. And so I think of one of the maybe more classic individualist things a person can do. We hear about going off the grid. And maybe building your own house off the grid, somewhere far, far away. But I ask, could this hypothetical person make each and every one of their materials, every nail and every piece of wood? Remember, we are in this together, even when we don't act like it. And even if someone could somehow make every material for this imaginary, off-the-grid, individualist home, they would be on land that had almost certainly been stewarded at some point by people before them. The quality of the air would be dependent on their neighbors, however distant they may be. And of course, none of this is to mention the far-reaching, non-human community in our beloved web of creation. The idea that anyone could possibly opt out of living in community is truly absurd. You can't opt out of living in community any more than you can opt out of the sky or the ground. No one has ever been an individual completely disconnected from other beings. Rather, we are each our own puzzle in the vast puzzle of creation. Perhaps one of the more low-stakes illustrations of the falsity of individualism is competitive board games, where one person works to win using the definition of success that is set forth by the game creators. I have a bit of an affinity for the classic game Clue, where players endeavor to figure out which character killed John Body with what weapon and in which room. Players do so by asking each other whether they have a certain card, and then they use that to deduce which 3 cards, a weapon, a character, and a room were removed at the start of the game. The goal is to be the first player to figure out which particular combination of weapon, character, and room is the perfect combination. And so you try to be this victorious individual to logic this solution. But remember, we are in this together, even when we don't act like it. And what seems like an individual quest is actually completely dependent on others. Other people have the information that you need, and you have the information that they need. You can only be so much of an individual in Clue or in anything. And so my point is twofold. One, the dominant culture of white America, and again, particularly with white America in proximity to money, has placed this particular emphasis on the individual And this emphasis has caused a lot of harm. But still, and two, even the most individualistic culture can only be so individualistic. Those of us who are parts of individualistic corners of culture would do well to recognize that we too are interdependent. We just have to be interdependent with the great web of all existence. And so, if we say, for example, that the standard for most of humanity has been that we are entirely communal, for many people across all of time, the idea of prioritizing the individual has just not crossed their minds. And so in an American culture of individualism, even when we say that it is so individualistic, in many ways, it's still mostly communal. There is this gap between entirely communal and mostly communal, and this gap is indeed a serious one. It is a gap that has led people to be blamed for their poverty instead of a collective culpability. And it is even a gap that has led some UUs to believe that the responsible truth for meaning is a private journey, one that happens entirely in our own minds rather than with the support of our beloveds. And so this gap, the gap where many of us find ourselves between an entirely communal society and this society that has uniquely emphasized the individual, I do want to recognize that this is a gap that deserves serious reflection and repentance. Remember, we are in this together, even when we don't act like it. And so instead of focusing on our weaknesses, I wonder if instead we can focus on our strengths. The solution then, perhaps, to addressing this gap is to lean into the ways that we are, in fact, actually deeply, deeply communal, rather than the ways that we aren't. If our inherent nature is to be part of a collective, then surely paths towards a deeper sense of community are well worn, and maybe they are easier to embrace than we are telling ourselves. Our lives may not be like the end of a toot and puddle book, safely snuggled away with our beloveds in an idyllic cabin in the woods. They may not be like living in the community that I applied for, where there are regular housemate meetings and chore charts and a truly remarkable level of intentionality. Our lives are not perfect, but they are undoubtedly communal. They have to be. We are in this together, even when we don't act like it. Yes, there is time to talk about the loneliness epidemic and analyze the twists and turns of individualism in American culture. Right now, though, let us lean into our inherent interdependence. I ask, what are the relationships that bring you joy? And what would it mean to show those relationships a little bit extra attention in this next week? How are you involved in the lives of your neighbors, no matter how small? Not how could you be more involved in the lives of your neighbors, but how are you actively? And what would it mean to be attentive to this involvement, to be present to it, to understand yourself both as a small and integral part of the web of life? People depend on your choices. You depend on the choices of others. This, a sacred and terrible truth woven into our flesh. In college, my friend and I, we had this phrase, which was friend crush. So rather than someone we were romantically interested in, the friend crush was someone we wanted to get to know more. Someone with whom the seeds of a relationship had been planted, but it had not been yet nurtured into a friendship. Who are your friend crushes? Where are the relational seeds in your life? And how can you water those seeds in the days and weeks to come? Just like me, and perhaps just like you, our beloved Kizan, haiku poet, wonders where his life falls into creation. When I am gone, will someone care for the chrysanthemums that I leave? That is to say, will I be remembered? Does someone love me enough to care for what I have cared for? Let us make the bold assumption that yes, someone will care for the chrysanthemums that you leave, that I leave, that each of us leave. Together, we make up a rich, rich lineage of humans who have cared for each other, and you cannot opt out of that care. Let us boldly assume that we are parts of loving communities, communities who have our backs, communities of reciprocity, imperfect though they may be. Because if we take the risk of trusting that community is part of our DNA, that community is who we are, then we will be able to more fully harness the power of the collective. So I'm going to invite us into a brief time of meditation. Close your eyes if that is comfortable to you, and let us take in a breath together. Let us feel ourselves breathe. Feel the many, many hearts and hands and souls in this room, online, across Melrose, across Greater Boston, across Unitarian Universalism, across our world. Feel the energy of the collective. And as you start to feel this energy, I invite you to take in another deep breath. Think of the hundreds and thousands of beings, millions and billions with whom you have shared this air, the hundreds and thousands and millions and billions who have been on this very same ground as you. And consider a relationship in your life that you would like to nurture. Perhaps a friend of a friend, maybe somebody in a nearby pew, maybe a relative you haven't talked to in a while. Whoever they are, I invite you to take another breath in and have a moment of gratitude for their being, for the gift of who they are to creation. Consider what the next faithful step in your relationship with them might look like. And I invite you to open your eyes if they're not already open. And as you do so, may you feel the energy of the collective, the energy of this community right here, strong and brilliant and vibrant. And may we be brave enough to firmly root ourselves in the great web of life. Amen. And I invite us now, in celebration of our faith, to sing the closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment. It is in the Teal hymnal on 1028. There we go. Please remain standing and join in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Amen. Our service has ended. Oops. Please enjoy a brief postlude from Tom before gathering out in the parish hall. Thank you for worshiping with us today, and happy Sunday.